Sheng Xiaoyo came home late one night, around 7:43 p.m. He was actually in a pretty good mood, which for him wasn't always a given after a long night out. But that good mood just poof, vanished the second he saw Hua Yong's face. Hua Yong just looked so sad. Sheng Xiaoyo's face darkened right up. You could see it. His driver, being smart, quickly found an excuse to bail, leaving Hua Yong all by himself to deal with a clearly annoyed Sheng Xiaoyo. Hua Yong didn't say a word, didn't even ask a question. He just went to the kitchen and came back with a bowl of sobering soup for Sheng Xiaoyo. Apparently, they always had that kind of remedy around the house, thanks to a nutritionist who knew a lot about traditional Chinese medicine. But even though this soup had licorice in it, so it shouldn't have been bitter, Sheng Xiaoyo just found it overwhelmingly bitter, almost impossible to swallow. He put the bowl down and tried to sound light, casually asking about Hua Yong's evening, like where he'd been, how the dinner gathering was. Hua Yong just stood there, looking down at him. The living room lighting was soft, so you couldn't really see his eyes clearly. But his lips were just a tight, straight line, and his expression had this coldness about it that really got to Sheng Xiaoyo. Hua Yong simply conveyed that he'd been to a Korean restaurant, and it was okay, not very fun. His voice, naturally soft and slow, is usually something Sheng Xiaoyo really likes. But this time, even with that slow pace, his words carried this incredibly heavy, oppressive feeling. It was enough to actually offend Sheng Xiaoyo, and he's an S-level alpha, mind you. His scalp started tingling, his hands and feet went cold, and he felt a faint chill down his spine. Almost instinctively, Sheng Xiaoyo let out just a subtle hint of his powerful pheromones. Then, Hua Yong indicated that he wanted to know where Sheng Xiaoyo had gone, coming back so late. Sheng Xiaoyo, trying to keep his pheromone concentration low, saw that Hua Yong didn't seem too bothered. In fact, he actually took a few steps closer, his face completely blank. Sheng Xiaoyo's face darkened even more. He really hates omegas who act spoiled just because someone favors them. Honestly, if it hadn't been for Hua Yong, someone who perfectly suited his taste, he would have just told him to get lost. Hua Yong then let out a light laugh, but his expression just got colder. He mentioned a strong omega scent that he could smell right through the door, and then he directly asked if Sheng Xiaoyo had been marked by an omega. And let me tell you, if you want to infuriate an S-level alpha, telling him he's been marked is the quickest way to do it. S-level alphas are like the kings of pheromones, at the very top of human physiology. In modern warfare, their oppressive pheromones are practically considered biological weapons. An unarmed S-level alpha could simply use their overwhelming physiological advantage to make all lower-ranking alphas and omegas collapse to their knees. If the pheromone concentration is high enough, even someone with a gun wouldn't have the strength to pull the trigger. Under that kind of crushing pheromone oppression, lower-level enemies often can't even move their fingers. And Sheng Xiaoyo is exactly that kind of alpha. So to be told he'd been marked by an omega, that was an utter humiliation. Sheng Xiaoyo's expression went completely cold. He told Hua Yong in no uncertain terms to know his place and that Sheng Xiaoyo's affairs were not Hua Yong's business. Hua Yong just stared at him blankly, almost like he suddenly didn't recognize the person standing there. He stood in silence for a long time, then finally just nodded, his eyes looking a bit moist. He then conveyed that Sheng Xiaoyo was right, and he would go back to his room, wishing him good night, and saying he'd see him tomorrow. But Sheng Xiaoyo just instinctively grabbed his arm. This ridiculous thought suddenly popped into his head. He actually suspected Hua Yong hadn't slept at all. The skin on Hua Yong's exposed forearm, peeking out from under his robe, was ice cold. That's the kind of chill you get from sitting up and waiting all night. He had definitely been waiting for Sheng Xiaoyo to come home. Sheng Xiaoyo's heart softened right then and there. Thinking that omegas always needed a little coaxing, he started to offer some comfort to Hua Yong. But Sheng Xiaoyo, who's usually so indifferent and rarely bothers coaxing anyone, didn't even get the chance. Hua Yong's fingers, which looked so slender and delicate, turned out to be surprisingly strong. He forcefully pried Sheng Xiaoyou's fingers off his hand. The delicate but very stubborn Huayong just bit his lip, didn't say another word, and quietly went back to his room. For the next few days, Huayong became practically invisible. He didn't show up for meals, didn't make a sound around the house, and somehow managed to avoid crossing Sheng Xiaoyu's path completely. It was as if he'd turned into a ghost, one that still left warm meals on the table and the faintest trail of orchid scent in the air, but never once showed his face. Sheng Xiaoyu tried to act like he didn't care. He told himself it was probably better this way. Less noise, less fuss. He could come and go as he pleased without having to deal with cold looks or passive-aggressive silences. And yet, after 4 straight days of this eerie, empty peace, something snapped in him. He came home late one evening to find the entire apartment dark, save for the soft light above the dining table. No sound, no Huayong, just silence pressing down like a heavy fog. The air felt hollow. The moment he stepped in, something in him flared. Without even thinking, he slammed the door behind him, hard, and turned right back around. He couldn't take it anymore, this quiet treatment, this ghostly absence. He was fed up. If he doesn't want to see me, then fine, he fumed internally. Let him keep hiding. Jealous little Omega wants to play games? Let him sulk forever. I'm done. But he didn't even make it to the elevator before his phone buzzed. A message from Huayong. It was short and polite. Mr. Sheng, thank you very much for your care these past few days. That was enough to stop him cold. His jaw clenched, his pulse skipped. Then the next message came. I found another place to stay. Dinner is on the table. I'm moving out today. Followed by, I'll repay the money I owe on time. If nothing comes up, let's not see each other again. Sheng Xiaoyu stared at his phone like it had just insulted him to his face. Move out? See each other again? The hell did he think he was going? 3 minutes later, the door he'd slammed in frustration flew open again, this time pushed by a man seething with disbelief. And there Huayong was, standing at the threshold with his suitcase. He wore a light sweater, the one Sheng Xiaoyu liked most on him, with the collar pulled up to half hide his face. When he turned around and saw Sheng Xiaoyu storming back in, his eyes widened in surprise, but he said nothing. Sheng Xiaoyu's eyes dropped immediately to the suitcase in his hand. His expression darkened further. Where are you going? He demanded. Huayong didn't answer right away. The past few days had clearly taken their toll. He looked thinner, worn out. His grip on the suitcase handle was tight, his fingers red from strain. But he held his posture steady and politely replied that he simply wanted to thank Sheng Xiaoyu in person before leaving. Then, without waiting for a response, he started toward the door again. Sheng Xiaoyu leaned lazily against the frame, arms crossed, voice cold. What do you take this place for? A hotel? You come and go as you please? Huayong stopped. He turned slightly, eyes red-rimmed but calm, the kind of calm that only comes when someone's already broken inside. Then what do you want me to do? He asked. That stopped Sheng Xiaoyu in his tracks, because he didn't actually know the answer. What he wanted was stupidly simple. He wanted Huayong to be right here, to stay, to wait for him, to warm his cold nights with soft looks and even softer silences. He wanted that orchid scent in the hallway, the quiet companionship, the domestic routines he pretended to find annoying but secretly relied on. He didn't want a goodbye. He didn't want an empty apartment and ghosted dinners. He didn't want this. But Sheng Xiaoyu wasn't the kind of man to say any of that aloud. Instead, he just stood there and scowled. What do you even want? He finally spat. Not that it matters. Huayong blinked, like those words stung worse than expected. His expression faltered just for a second, then hardened again. Let's just stop seeing each other, he said quietly. This isn't working. Sheng Xiaoyu laughed, bitter and sharp. Why? You tired of our little game already? Found another alpha willing to mark you properly? That hit like a slap. Hwayoung's face twisted with shock. His lips parted, and for a moment he looked like he couldn't breathe. "No," he said, voice breaking. "It's not that." And then the tears came. Not loud or messy, just silent, crystalline drops falling one after another, each one more painful than the last. His voice, when it returned, was barely audible. "It's because I like you too much." That silenced Sheng Xiaoyou completely. Hwayoung sniffled quietly, wiping his cheeks. "The more I like you, the uglier I become. I get jealous. I start crying over things I shouldn't. And I hate it. I hate who I am when I'm with you." Another tear slid down, trembling on his lip. "So please, let's just end this now. I'll go somewhere I won't have to see you. But I'll still wish you well. Truly." He bowed his head, ready to walk again. But before he could move, Sheng Xiaoyou reached out and grabbed him, tight. "Where do you think you're going?" he said, his voice lower now, rough around the edges. Hwayoung tried to pull free. "I've said what I needed to say. And I haven't agreed." The force in his voice made Hwayoung pause. His eyes were wide again, searching his face for something. Anything. Sheng Xiaoyou inhaled sharply, trying to ground himself. His tone dropped, softer, less combative. "It's cold outside. Come back in. Once the door shut behind them, Sheng Xiaoyou felt a strange wave of relief wash over him, like he'd just caught something that was slipping through his fingers. Hwayoung didn't say a word. He quietly rolled his suitcase to a corner, then walked to the kitchen island and sat on one of the high stools. He kept his head low, the collar of his sweater still pulled up, chin tucked down. He looked small, fragile, and tired. Sheng Xiaoyou watched him for a moment, then walked over without a word. He poured a cup of warm water and set it in front of Hwayoung. Hwayoung whispered a quiet, "Thank you," without lifting his gaze. His fingers curled around the cup, and the steam blurred the edges of his face. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke, and Sheng Xiaoyou suddenly realized something. He missed the way Hwayoung used to look at him, that soft, slow gaze paired with a quiet smile, the way his voice used to sound when he said, "You're home." It hadn't even been that long, but it already felt like a lifetime ago. He wanted that again. Even now, Hwayoung looked like he was trying to keep a dignified distance. After crying and breaking down just minutes earlier, he was clearly embarrassed. His eyes stayed fixed on the water, like he couldn't bear to meet Sheng Xiaoyou's gaze again. But the tenderness, his tenderness, was still there. And Sheng Xiaoyou felt his heart soften, the way he did whenever Hwayoung got like this, vulnerable, but too proud to say a word. That soft orchid scent still lingered faintly in the air, wrapping around them like a memory. He thought to himself, next time, maybe after messing around outside, he should at least shower before coming home. If Hwayoung found out again, he might cry like that all over again. But the truth was, there wasn't much left to say. Sheng Xiaoyou's earlier promise, "We'll talk slowly," was just an excuse to keep Hwayoung from leaving. Because deep down, he knew he couldn't give him anything permanent. Not a promise, not a mark, not the kind of future Hwayoung quietly craved. And he couldn't lie about it either. He wasn't that kind of man. Sheng Xiaoyou was indulgent when he wanted to be, soft when it suited him, but never reliable, never committed. He could pluck stars from the sky one night and forget your name the next. He was charming, spoiled, and dangerously inconsistent. Yet somehow, he still couldn't bear the thought of letting Hwayoung go, because Hwayoung made things better, even when he was upset or sulking, even when they fought. Even when things got ugly, he was still the one who turned Sheng Xiaoyou's house into something that resembled a home. And that was something Sheng Xiaoyou didn't know how to replace. Hwayoung sat on the tall kitchen stool, silent, shoulders hunched slightly, as he cradled the cup of warm water Sheng Xiaoyou had given him. His eyes never left the rim of the mug. The rising steam softened the tension in his face, but he still wouldn't look up. Sheng Xiaoyu stood nearby, watching him, unsure of what to say. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was heavy, thick with all the things they couldn't say. And yet Sheng Xiaoyu found himself aching to break it. He couldn't help but notice the pink tinge on the tip of Hua Yong's nose, the barely there puffiness around his eyes. Hua Yong looked fragile, like something left out in the cold too long. For the first time in a long time, Sheng Xiaoyu didn't feel powerful or in control. He felt guilty. And that unfamiliar emotion annoyed him. He had the urge to say something kind, to reassure, maybe even to apologize. But those words got stuck in his throat. He'd never had to speak them before, so instead, he just stared, replaying Hua Yong's trembling confession in his mind. Because I like you too much. That wasn't how things were supposed to go. Hua Yong should have been easier to handle. He should have cried, sulked, and then clung to him again like others did. That's how it always went. But instead, he'd calmly packed a suitcase and walked to the door, heart breaking quietly. And now, even though Sheng Xiaoyu had brought him back inside, nothing had been fixed. Hua Yong didn't speak, didn't demand comfort. His hands stayed wrapped around the mug, soaking in the warmth. Even then, Sheng Xiaoyu could tell. He was pulling away. He suddenly missed the way Hua Yong used to greet him at the door with a soft smile, the way he'd hum in the kitchen while preparing dinner, the way his soft voice would ask, "Did you eat yet?" Like it mattered more than anything else. How had all of that turned into this icy, standoffish silence? Maybe it was his fault. Maybe it always had been. Still, even now, when Hua Yong sat there like a picture of restraint and sadness, Sheng Xiaoyu wanted him to stay. Not forever. He couldn't promise forever. Not with who he was. But for now, tonight, and maybe tomorrow too. He wanted to be able to come home and find Hua Yong here. Wanted the quiet presence, the warmth, the soft hums, and the scent of orchids lingering in the hallway. He wasn't ready to give that up. Not yet.
Sheng Xiaoyu finally stepped closer, resting his palm on the edge of the island. His voice, when it came, was lower now, almost hesitant. "Are you still cold?" Hua Yong blinked slowly, startled by the question. He shook his head once, a small, automatic gesture, but he still wouldn't look up. Sheng Xiaoyu exhaled and leaned in slightly. "I didn't mean for things to turn out like this." That caught Hua Yong's attention. His gaze lifted, slowly, cautiously, and met Sheng Xiaoyu's. There was no hope in his expression, just quiet disbelief, like he didn't quite trust what he was hearing. "You don't have to say anything just because I cried," Hua Yong said softly. "I'm not," Sheng Xiaoyu replied, then paused. "Well, maybe I am. I don't know. I just know I don't want you to go." Those last few words came out raw, more vulnerable than Sheng Xiaoyu intended. Hua Yong's eyes widened slightly. It was clear he hadn't expected to hear that, not from him. "I can't promise you a mark," Sheng Xiaoyu admitted, tone flat but honest. "I can't promise I'll change overnight or that I'll suddenly be someone better, but I'm not ready to lose you, not like this." There it was. That tiny spark in Hua Yong's eyes, barely visible through the exhaustion and hurt, but it flickered, a soft, pained glimmer of something that might still be love. "I never asked you to change," Hua Yong whispered. "I just wanted to matter." Sheng Xiaoyu closed his eyes for a brief moment, those words hitting deeper than anything else tonight. "You do," he said, voice firm now. "You do matter. That's why I came back." The silence that followed wasn't tense. It was quiet in a way that felt full, like something real had just been said for the first time. Hua Yong slowly set the mug down and stood up. His fingers fidgeted slightly, but he didn't move away when Sheng Xiaoyou stepped in closer. They stood there, just breathing the same air. Sheng Xiaoyou hesitated, then gently reached for Hua Yong's hand. This time, Hua Yong didn't pull away. There were still so many things they hadn't figured out. No promises, no perfect ending. But in that moment, something had shifted. They were no longer standing on opposite sides of goodbye.